We've been trying to really nurture vocations with the idea that everybody's called. Is that what you think God is doing in the church?
Absolutely. I think we have this prejudice sometimes, don't we, that the only calling that they can possibly be in the church is for this little magic piece of plastic around our necks. But I don't think that's the case at all. And I think what we do is we look at the gifts that God's given us and we discern within that how we might use the best of us and the worst of us actually for God's glory.
Absolutely. And so what would you say to somebody who says, well, I don't think it's ordained ministry for me, so I don't know whether I've got a vocation? What would you say to them?
The wonderful thing for me about the church is that there's a real equality in our callings. So it's not this idea that if you think you're called to be the next Archbishop of Canterbury, then that to me is just as important as thinking that you might be called to go onto the tea rota, or you might be the person called to do the children's work. Or none of that. We don't have this sense of there are better callings than others, but just that we're all called to serve God, and where God calls, He equips.
For most people, their calling is in their workplace, in their communities, not really within the church at all. And perhaps we overlook that a bit, do you think?
Well, we're in that very privileged position as vicars that it's very clear where we're called to be and how we're called to do stuff. But actually for most people, their calling comes from actually what they do every day, their normal job, because this really isn't a normal job, their normal job. And to find out where God has put them in their communities, in their workplaces, where their neighbours and their friends, and to just be a witness in those places and to serve God in those places too.
Absolutely. So if there's somebody out there watching this thinking, well, I have had this kind of feeling that maybe God is calling me to something and I don't quite know what to do, what would your word of encouragement be for them?
Pray, and then pray again. And then
so
go
do you think perhaps they should
prayer's
pray?
Really important. And also go and talk to lots of people and have a go at some stuff. Have a go at it. If you've got somebody in your community that is already doing this, go along and say, can I have a go at that? Or can I watch you do it? And then you can figure out, because also in finding out what you're called to, it's finding out what you're not called to as well. So have a go at stuff. I found out I really wasn't called to be a church warden by doing it for about 6 weeks. I don't really care about light bulbs and plug points. That's what I learned.
That's great. Thanks so much.
You're so welcome.